That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that regardless of how hard we try, doesn't matter. No matter what we do, we will never have that particular first time experience again. We cannot have the same first time twice. So the challenge is that if it's for us to have the courage to move forward, that to have the courage to let go of what was, no matter how good what was, and to move forward into the unknown, even if it's dark. Even if it's dark. Now, I didn't make this up. This is principle. We teach principle. And Ernest Holmes said it so beautifully in terms of moving forward, making things new. He said, nature will not let us stay in any one place for too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and advancement of the soul. This is a wise provision, for should we stay here too long, we should become too set, too rigid, too inflexible. Nature demands the change in order that we may advance. There it is. Demands a change. So many of us, much of the discomfort that we're feeling right now is our resistance to the change that nature is demanding. Emerson tells us just a little bit different than Ernest Holmes. He said it so simply: imitation is suicide. He didn't specify what kind of imitation he was talking about, so we can conclude that maybe even imitating ourselves would be suicide. Maybe even imitating our past would be suicide. And you know, it's fascinating to me. I look back at that photo. And I said I was going to talk about this. It's fascinating to me as I look at it, and I say to myself, how could I not have seen how beautiful I was? How could I not see that? How could I not see that? And I realized that it was probably because I was comparing myself to some perfect body type, somebody's perfect idea of what beauty was, somebody else's perfect idea of what success was. Have you seen that Fruit of the Loom commercial called Flawless? It is so amazing. It's this wonderful commercial with these women wearing Fruit of the Loom underwear. And they're walking around, and they're talking about the fact that they're not going to allow the magazines to tell them how beautiful they are anymore. They're talking about they're going to open themselves up to the realization that they really are flawless. And one of the fruits, the apple, is standing in the background. He's singing, flawless, don't you know you're flawless? And every time I see it, I laugh. You know why? Because I know that now. That's why I laugh. I laugh because I know that now. I didn't know that 25 years ago. That's what's so beautiful about it. See, because now I've moved to a place where I recognize that I don't have to deal with anybody else's idea of what that flawlessness is. It's perfect right now, just the way that I am. And I have to laugh. I go back to about a year or two ago when I did I think it was a Deepak Chopra class. And one of the exercises that we had to do in the class was reinventing the body, resurrecting the soul. And what we had to do was we had to stand in front of the mirror with no clothes on and look at ourselves without judgment. And there was so much resistance in the room. I said, well, you know, it's not like I suggested that you bring the neighborhood in to watch, you know. This is something we're doing, okay? But several people, I kind of lost half the class that night. They still came, but they just told me, Dar, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But you know, you can't give an assignment and not do it. All right? And so I sat down and I said, okay, Dar, you got to do this too. So I did it. I said, okay, I got to do it. I kind of got myself together. I got to do this without judgment. This is about 1.5 years ago. And so I said, okay. So I stood in front of the mirror and I said, my. My, my. You know, all kidding aside, though, you know, what I really was telling myself in that moment, I wasn't thrilled with what I was seeing, but I knew it was perfect. I knew it was perfect. I knew it was flawless, really and truly. I recognized that this is a perfect manifestation of the way that I had been thinking up till now. And the universe was giving me a perfect experience of that by way of my body. Now, the interesting thing is, in my life right now, is that that's when I began, you know, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't thrilled. I was accepting. I moved into a place of just being accepting of what I saw. And that's what I was saying earlier. This is one of the most difficult things for metaphysicians to do, to just accept what's in front of us and then say, okay, now what am I going to do? What do I want to do now? But just accept this moment. And interestingly enough, that's when the weight began to fall away. When I became accepting. And as I move through this experience, the most interesting thing that happens is that as I lift myself up in my own self-acceptance, the universe just keeps meeting me right where I am. And this works whether we're dealing with our body, whether we're dealing with our health, whether we're dealing with our finances, whether we're dealing with our relationships. As we move into an acceptance, self-acceptance, we lift it up and the universe meets us right where we are. That's it. So here I am this morning telling you about how gorgeous I am. Yeah, I am. I'm gorgeous. But so are you. See, how can we affirm that God is beauty and that we are individualizations of God and not be able to stand flat-footed and say, I am beautiful. I am gorgeous right now. How can we do that? How can we affirm that beauty and not be able to just stand up and say it? How many of you can say it right now? I am beautiful. Stand up. I am beautiful right now. I am prosperous right now. Okay, now how does it feel? Tell me how it feels. Okay, that's because this is what we've been affirming over and over and over again. Okay, so you can sit down. I'm going to finish up really quickly. So really quickly. Okay, so there's this wonderful, like I told you, I love commercials. There's this wonderful iPad commercial that kind of sums up what I'm saying this morning. It says, we will never stop sharing our memories or getting lost in a good book. We will always cook dinner and cheer for our favorite teams. We will still go to meetings, make home movies, and learn new things. But how we do this will never be the same. Daniel Nahmod said it. He said, bring it on. Everything new, everything perfect, everything true. I'm ready for my next thing to do. How we do it will never be the same. So when we hear Heraclitus saying, you cannot step in the same river twice, pay attention. He's saying, listen to this. Let me save you some time. When we hear Ernest Holmes saying nature will not allow you to stay in one place for too long, pay attention to it. He's saying, let me save you some time. When Emerson is saying imitation is suicide, pay attention to it. He's saying, let me save you some time. When Paul is saying that you're not going to forget the past, but you can't live there, pay attention to it. He's trying to save us some time. And when BMW is asking us when was the last time that we experienced anything for the very first time, pay attention to it because it's a wake-up call. And maybe the very best way that I've ever heard it said was handed to me last week. It's from the final handwritten notes by Dr. Raymond Charles Barker for the talk that he was planning to do here in this sanctuary. And he wrote it the night before he passed away. And at the very top of the page, it's written, yesterday ended last night. That's the message. So whatever it is that we're doing right now, regardless of how good it was, it's never as good as the first time. It's never as good as the first time. But new first-time experiences are waiting for us right now. Let it be your way. Thank you for being here this morning. So it is. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
How could anyone ever tell you you are anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you are less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.